Hello everybody and welcome back to the workshop. I have a new addition and I thought I'd take a few minutes, show them to you guys. This is the Stanley Number 131 and kind of an unusual little character. It's kind of one of those oddities that once I learned about it I always hoped I'd run across one. If you look at this guy, it kind of resembles ordinary Stanley block plane, similar lever cap and mechanism, knob. This one has an adjustable mouth, this one does not. And the knob, however, looks a little more similar to the trusty old Stanley Number 110. And it serves a purpose as a block plane. But what's curious about the 131, for those of you that don't know, is if I take the lever cap off and the iron, you can flip this mechanism end for end. And if I turn the plane around, and put the iron back in this way, put the lever back on, and you have a different type of block plane. This is a bullnose block plane, kind of similar to this Stanley Number 75 that I've done a video or two on in the past. And hence, if you need to plane up close to some surface, the iron can get a lot closer. And how cool is that? And if I zoom in on the trademark, you can see it's the Stanley V logo that I would say dates this plane, if memory serves correct, somewhere between 1910 and I think upwards of 1920. And I'm not sure there's any reason to think that that's not accurate to dating the plane. And it has, like I say, a rather interesting little mechanism that flips end for end. There's a screw to hold the lever cap on either side, and this piece seems to be symmetric. And there's a close-up of the lettering on the toe of it, Stanley up here, and then number 131 down here. And the iron has some buff marks and scuff marks on it, but it looks in pretty good shape for a piece of steel so old. Very little pitting. And the edge, well, it has an edge on it, but it's hardly what I would call sharp. And a little bit of discoloration back there, but actually, again, for something well over 100 years old, I think it's pretty good. This particular example has the word damaged stamped into the cheek, and I don't know if that's from the factory or somewhere else. And there is a chip in the mouth right over here. Maybe that's what it's referring to. I don't know. On the inside, I don't know if the light can catch it, but it says patent 313-00, and over here it says patent 8-2-04. And according to John Walter's book, the 131 was made from 1905 to 1941. The 8-2-1904 patent was Trout and Albert Campbell's patent, and it's described as the design of the pivoting adjusting screw, which I presume is this mechanism in here. The body of the plane is cast iron, the knob is rosewood, and it's japanned. And from what I can tell, the big difference between this 131 and the 130 is that the 131 has the depth adjustment knob on it. And that patent date of 8204, this would have expired in 1921, which I think further dates this plane from the 1910 to the 1920 era. Somebody before me has shined this up to some degree, doing some sanding and hitting these spots here, which from my point of view is kind of a shame. I would have rather have found it in a little more original condition and done my own shining the way I like. The japanning, the black paint on the inside, looks pretty gosh darn near complete, and I don't really see a little bit of chipping in here. The center mechanism here, it looks like this is a screw that goes through the cheek on either side. This flat area on either side fits into little notches on this wedge shape here, so that has to be carefully lined up when you're flipping it. And then there's a little notch that engages the grooves on the back of the iron. And this knob has a little bit of decoration, and that's obviously the depth adjustment. Personally, I think it's kind of a wonky idea. I mean, the common block plane just isn't that expensive, and I don't know how rare or difficult or expensive bullnose block planes are. They don't seem to be nearly as common. as the ordinary block plane. And it would seem to me that a piece like this would be awfully complicated and expensive. It would just make more sense. Pretty much everybody owns a block plane, and if you really needed a bullnose, to me it would make more sense to just own the two planes. But that's just my opinion. And I don't know how often you need a bullnose plane. I have this number 78 here, and it has a bullnose feature. And I've shown this number 75 a few times, and this obviously is a bullnose. And it's difficult to use bullnose planes because you need this area out in front of the plane to register the tool on the wood you're trying to get a shaving off of. And it's kind of tricky to do that on a bullnose. And it crosses my mind as well that this isn't the type of tool that you're going to flip back and forth on the fly, because every time you assemble a plane there's a little bit of fiddling with the iron just to get it sit where you want it. According to the research I did, there's actually two screws, one on either side, that engages this pivoting mechanism, and you've got some delicate machined surfaces in there, and apparently these pieces in the middle here are prone to breakage. But as I look at this particular example, I don't really see anything in there that's broken. Breathe a slight sigh of relief on that one. So I'm scratching my head trying to think of an area where this tool really shines, and maybe I'm missing something. Or is there some other trade where a tool like this is really valuable? Tell me what you think. If I got something wrong, or if you've got something to add, please leave a comment. I'm hardly an expert on these things. I'm not sure I'm ever going to use this plane. Time will tell. And if this turns out to be a plane uniquely useful for certain tasks, I'll certainly let you know. And that's all I have for now. Appreciate you coming by, checking out what I've done next. As I said before, if you got a comment, I'd love to read it. Please like, subscribe, especially if you enjoy these types of videos. And as always, keep your eyes out for the next one.